I was given the idea for the movie, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, I got to write this. So I wrote a script for it, and as soon as I finished writing the script, I called the producer and said, I have to direct this movie. You know, it's been in my life for a couple of years now. It's become me, and I did so much research on the Zodiac Killer, and I write in my basement. And my basement's unfinished, and it's kind of creepy. So there was times at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd be listening to the real Zodiac Killer's voice on my computer, where he calls in and says, "This is the Zodiac speaking." And it would scare me.
Jonathan Wright and I talked about this movie for a year, I think. He didn't know exactly when it's going to start, but I really wanted to work with him. We've been buddies for a while, and I know he's a good writer. I like the script, and I told him wherever he takes it, I'll go with him.
It's not a Zodiac Killer movie you've seen before. It's 40 years later. But there's such a legend, and there's so much true crime involved. Trying to tell the story, and it's seeming legitimate because it is based on a real serial killer who could be alive still at this very moment. Also, why would two people who find 8mm film strips of the actual Zodiac Killer, why would they go on this crazy chase? It would put their lives in danger. And so that was a hard part of telling the story, of why would anybody do that?
The great thing about working with Jonathan is that he had such a clear vision of what it was that he wanted. So there was never any guessing game.
So basically on the janitor queue, I think we'll do the elevator door queue.
My favorite locations on this show happen to all take place in Almont. It's a very beautiful and picturesque town, and there were a lot of different elements that we could piece together to create a story for Jonathan to sort of play in.
We had one scene where our Zoe character was in a cage, a bit of what I call the livestock tunnels, and it was a little bit tough on Leslie to. There was only one access point. She had to actually crawl through the maze of tunnels to get to her starting point, and it was also in a barn filled with hay, and she had some. She was allergic to hay, which was made it very challenging for her to do, and we also had some sparks. There were some spark effects that we were doing there, and that's how a lot of barn fires start. So we had to take all the necessary precautions, and so that was tricky.
When I first read the script, I thought to myself, oh, the dilapidated farm that the Zodiac lives on will be the easiest location to find, only to realize that was the most challenging location. We had a lot of stunts on that driveway. There was big things happening in and around the farm, so it just it was literally the most challenging thing, and funnily enough, I thought it would be the easiest.
So our plan here is we have a ramp set up in the middle of the street there. We're going to have a van that's going to come about 50 kilometers an hour and flip it right over. We're taking all the safety precautions we can to try and set it up everything here. We have our pulley here to pull up the camera if it comes too close, but it's going to be really interesting. It should be a good day. We'll see if we can van flip. We may get a second shot at it, but probably only one.
I'm going to drive towards this ramp, and as we go up the ramp, tip over and see what the heck happens. Hopefully we get a fortunate accident after that, or something exciting happens.
So that was probably one of the more fun parts of it. The most fun physically for me was shooting some of the car chase stuff. I was in the chase vehicle with our stunt coordinator who was driving the chase vehicle. So we were driving in and out. So from a physical point, it was kind of like riding a roller coaster. But a lot of the stuff, a lot of the scenes in the pawn shop were a lot of fun to shoot as well. When we had Shane West, Leslie Bibb, and Matt Craven all together. The three of them together there's a lot of magic in there, and all of those scenes I really enjoyed shooting. Just watching how the dynamic between the three actors
We have
were.
something worth $100,000 fucking dollars.
Nick, I gotta go. I gotta go do Ellie's hair.
Hey, look, at least one of these reels is ours.
You know, as we joke around in production of, oh, this shoots itself, but a lot of the scenes came out very naturally, and we just, would let, I like to work with the actors and the director of photography and find out what organically is the best fit for our movie and telling our story.
Well, it's been very rewarding working this film because we took that a very, I'll call it a cinematic approach. We let things play on the screen. My favorite scene to shoot was probably the scene at Harvey's when they project the Zodiac footage for the first time.
Set and action.
Okay, this is, I'll explain it to you. Okay. So back in the day, this was the government, and it's the letters that you're not
Oh, no, I'm getting it. So what does that mean?
To Zoe.
I just liked, projecting Super 8. They're watching a movie, we're filming a movie of them watching a movie that, somebody else filmed them,
I think that my favorite one was definitely Harvey's attic. That was a great set. It looked good. It was just crowded enough, and as far as prop went, there was lots of stuff for us to be doing. The playback, I was controlling that, so had a lot to do there, and it looked great, and I excited to see it later on.
The 8mm projector. It was so last minute, but I loved it, and there was a debate between me and Boris at one point about 8mm will not smoke if it actually catch fire, and during one of the scenes the film actually started smoking, so I won on that part. So that is I would say one of my good effects.
In our movie, we find the key to the 340 cipher, which is the unsolved cipher that was sent to the San Francisco Chronicle by the Zodiac Killer. So in our movie, we find the key to the cipher on a film strip, and it's out of focus in a lot of places, so it's still hard for our characters to solve the cipher, but they essentially have the key.
What's a 408?
But it turned out very much a mind bender for the art department, who had to basically solve the key, do something that nobody has been able to do for 40 years. Not that they solved the key, but even to have a passable key for our story became very, very tricky, and we hired someone who specializes in ciphers and code breaking, and so we've done a pretty good job of telling that story, but we didn't really solve the cipher. A lot of the investigative work that our characters do is real stuff that you could find out on the internet as well. But everything else, one of our actor who played the Zodiac Killer did a lot of research on the Zodiac Killer as well, Stephen McCaddy, and did some speech patterns that the Zodiac killer who called into a TV station at one point and he called in a couple of places. So there's a couple of times he's been recorded. No one knows if it's really him, or well, they know that they suspect that it's really the Zodiac killer calling in, but was he trying to alter his voice so he wouldn't be tracked down? And that happens so much with the Zodiac killer. One of the theories is that he wrote with his left hand, so we couldn't track his handwriting. And there's so many of those kind of things that I've tried to tie into the story. And there's some little clues I've put in throughout the story that any real Zodiac killer, there are fans, but people who are true crime hobbyists, who are into that kind of research and puzzle solving, there'll be a couple of little gems in there that you'll enjoy.
Usually night scenes are the toughest, and we have an opening scene that takes place at night, and there's a body of water there, and there are many directions that we're shooting in, and involves cars, guns, stunts, and everything, and that's usually very difficult. And we shot it in the first week, so it proved to be very difficult, but we actually did it on time, and as the sun was rising, we were finished, which usually doesn't happen with these scenes. We usually owe something, but we're done, and I think it's a very good scene. After seeing this movie, I think the audience is going to think about a journey that goes beyond this movie, which is the journey of discovering who Zodiac is. And that's what's so interesting about this movie, because it kind of proposes the end to the Zodiac. So I think people will debate, what really happened.
What would you do for $100,000? Which is the reward for the Zodiac killer, which is to this date an outstanding reward. If you look it up in San Francisco, there's a $100,000 reward for evidence leading to the Zodiac killers. I think they'll be wondering if the Zodiac killer is still out there.
And that's what film is, like looking at a world presented through somebody else's eyes, and you reacting to that world, and if it works, then your reaction, like you really get engulfed and you don't question anything.
With cast, I gotta say, is a very nice cast. Teamwork is all there. Made a lot of new friends. Energy's very up, so I really love working in the Ottawa region and the Toronto people that are down here. Yeah, good times, very good times. I really love it working out here.
On this particular show, though, I feel it was the best experience I've ever had. This was the nicest show, the nicest crew, the nicest cast, with a great director and great producers to support us. So I really had a good time.
Hey guys, I would like to thank everybody for all of your input and creative involvement in this film. I think we made a really great movie here. And from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate everything everybody's done here. So thank you very much, guys.
Who wants to say the magic words?